Greetings, my dear ones. Today we will discuss a profound truth expressed by Krishnamurti. The observer is the observed. This is not just a philosophical statement. It is a key to understanding our true nature. Recognition of the fact that the observer is the observed can by itself lead to enlightenment or nirvana. What does this paradoxical idea mean? Krishnamurti pointed out that the sense of oneself as a personality is an illusion. The I is merely a construct of the mind, a character in an imagined story. It is not you as a person who observes the world, because you as a person do not exist. The process of observation is universal and impersonal, and only within this process does the illusion of me arise. But who then is behind this observation, generating the illusion? Before we dive deeper, please subscribe to my channel. You are welcome here. I look forward to your thoughts and questions in the comments. Let's begin. Each of you has a unique way of seeing the world. You perceive reality from your own perspective, shaped by your life experiences, worldview, books you've read, and events you've lived through. You know that you can make choices to go to the movies or not, to take this job or not, coffee or tea. There seems to be a center from which all decisions arise. You call this center yourself or I. Now, let's rewind that last sentence in slow motion. You call this center yourself, call. That means it is a word, a thought. The thought that there is an I. The thought that I am making decisions. A thought. Observation. All your life you have been observing yourself. You think about yourself and your life. But all of this is just thoughts. And you say my thoughts, my life. But if thoughts and life are mine, then there must be an I that owns them. That seems logical, but despite decades of intensive research, neuroscientists still cannot identify any specific area of the brain responsible for generating the sense of I. There is no I in the brain, nor is it found in any other part of the body. The I exists only in imagination, and only as long as you imagine it. But what if you stop imagining, thinking, and observing? What if there are no more thoughts about yourself or your life? Imagine that you have become some kind of zombie. What then? It seems that you would only be a body. A body that does not know it is an I, because there are no thoughts, only a body that eats, drinks, and sleeps. So, there is no I in the body. A goldfish doesn't need a biography or a personality to eat and live its simple life. All of nature and most living beings, except for some mammals, exist perfectly well without an I. Now imagine a person who, due to a brain injury, has lost the ability to think. He eats, drinks, and sleeps. We would still say that he has a personality, that there is an observer within him, someone who simply sees and hears. This is a fundamental mistake. Yes, he sees and hears, but these are only the bare facts of seeing and hearing. Without the presence of other people who possess the concept of personality and an observer, there is no personality at all. Without the observation of the observer does not exist, because the observer and the observed are one and the same. This is why primitive tribes and very young children refer to themselves in the third person. They have not yet grasped the concept of I. They function in the world and have already learned many concepts. This is a rock. This is a tree. That person is Frank. And this person, a child, points at themselves, is Eugene. And Eugene wants to eat. For the child, their own body is just like any other body, on equal footing with everything else. The ego has not yet fully formed. The lie about a mythical center that controls everything has not yet been absorbed. An adult, however, has mastered this lie so well that it has become unquestionable. It has become a mask fused to the face. Now, what is a body? We as humans attribute personality traits to any body, whether human or natural. Think of childhood cartoons. SpongeBob is just a sponge, a household object, yet he has eyes, a personality, and a character. Cartoons give human traits to everyday objects, animals, trees, and even rocks. From childhood, we are trained to see a self, a personality, an ego in everything. Thus, through imagination, we project the idea of personality onto bodies, including our own. But this is not the only distortion of the mind when it comes to the body. The idea of personality is deeply tied to the idea of separateness. And though we do not realize it, only humans and a few higher animals perceive distinct bodies. For plants and most other animals, there is only an indistinguishable flow of life. We, on the other hand, see borders around bodies, beyond which we perceive the environment: air, water, a warm bed. We see bodies fighting for territory, space, survival. But all of this is just our mental concept. In reality, bodies are not separate. The body and the environment are parts of an indivisible whole. To understand this, consider a speck of dust. A speck of dust is just that: tiny, indivisible. There's no point in dividing it further. Yet, from the perspective of physics, a single dust particle contains anywhere from 1 trillion to 10 quadrillion atoms, a whole universe of tiny components. And yet, it feels completely natural to see it as a single whole. And so it is. Similarly, bodies in the world are just atoms of a greater whole. To think that these atoms have independent significance is actually a very strange idea. Yet this is exactly what we do when we worry about our life, our future, our career, and our relationships. In reality, nothing has ever threatened us. All fears, including the fear of death, are false concepts. Death itself is a false concept. All of our thoughts are illusions. Why is that? The thing is, one of the mind's primary functions is division. The mind exists only by dividing. Without division, there is no mind. This is how it orients itself in the world and ensures survival. It is its very essence, for the mind is that which has separated itself from the universal flow. But in reality, there is no separation. The so-called external bodies are not separate. The so-called I and the external world are not separate. All of it is one, or as it is called in Advaita Vedanta, awareness, or simply consciousness. Only consciousness exists, and the mind is consciousness that has forgotten itself. We are accustomed to thinking of consciousness as some kind of small, transparent entity that resides in the head and directs a beam of attention toward the objects of the external world. This is one of the greatest illusions that keeps humanity in a state of sleep. It is the mind's lie about the consciousness that gave birth to it. So what is this consciousness? There is no direct answer, just as there is no answer to what God is or why there is something rather than nothing. There are only pointers to something beyond, something that gives life. Consciousness is the supreme reality itself, which can do anything, including the ability to seemingly divide itself into countless human bodies and deliberately forget itself. And this is what has happened to all of us. It is God who became so bored that he decided to forget that he is one and that nothing exists apart from him. And so, through us, he is experiencing something unique, the experience of being small, weak, and powerless. Spiritual awakening is simply remembering who you truly are. You are everything. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is not an exaggeration. It is a fact that most of humanity has astonishingly ignored for millennia. Mystics, sages, and philosophers have spoken of this. A person may hear it, may even feel as though they understand it, but in the next moment, they go back to thinking about their problems, worries, and struggles. God thinking about problems. How absurd. Who is this observer that you search for so desperately? Look for it within yourself, and you will find it does not exist. There is only awareness, which mistakenly takes itself to be an I. Let go of this idea of I, and you will see there is no one left to suffer. Suffering arises only from false identification with this I. When the mind settles, when thoughts fade, division disappears. All that remains is pure awareness, in which the observer and the observed become one. This is not an intellectual understanding. It is an experience. It is the silence where there is no one left to observe anything. How does this realization change your life? You begin to see that everything that happens within you. There is no outside. There are no others. Everything is a manifestation of your own awareness. This does not mean you become indifferent. On the contrary, you begin to relate to everything with deep compassion, because you see that everything is you. Do not waste time searching, just be. Be the awareness that you already are. And you will see there is no observer, no observed, only the one, indivisible whole. Silence is the answer. Remain in silence, and the truth will reveal itself to you.